Well, let's go back to schooling matters and share with you some concerns that you should be aware of when considering homeschooling or developments in some of the requirements if you are already homeschooling. Earlier, we spoke to Zeenat Sujee, who is with advocacy group Section 27.
Parents, home education is seen as has become a lot more attractive, and we've seen it during the COVID pandemic. So it's become a lot more affordable for many parents. A lot of parents have also found it to be a lot more constructive than because of the deterioration in the public school system, and also because they have a lot more control of where their children are during, for extramural activities, and that they have more, they can provide more attention to their children while they're at home.
As well as choosing, which sort of subject spread they would like their children to learn and things like that. So while these may seem appealing, and as you say, since those extraordinary circumstances of 2020 forced a lot of parents to consider this route, or in fact to commit to this route, there are some red flags, and I'd love for you to share what you've discovered in your research with our audience.
Sure. So with the, I think the concern for us has been that some of parents during home education, and this is what parents should remember, is that home education is to have your child schooled within the home. But what has happened is that many parents have sent their children out to centers or to any other institution outside of the home, were not doing their background checks into what kind of institutions and are these. And what has happened is that many of these institutions are not registered. They would have teachers who are not qualified, nor are not registered with the department. And it has come to our attention in a case that we dealt with last year. And it was, where the center where our client sent her children to were not registered with the department, so it was not an independent school. It had no qualified teachers, and the school did not have any policies in place. So if there is an incident of grave misconduct, like sexual misconduct or corporal punishment, there is no mechanism for a parent to actually hold those educators or tutors accountable for their actions.
I mean, it's heartening in the example that you share there, Zeenat, that the Gauteng Department of Education, after you intervened, shut that centre down for failing to comply with certain regulatory requirements. You're saying, and this is probably where some of that difficulty comes in, when you see a brick and mortar building, you see other children there, you see what looks to be a professional setup, you kind of, it imbues parents with the confidence that this is a bona fide and a legitimate place to be. But you're saying parents have to ask more critical questions. You have to ask about the qualifications of those who are teaching. You have to ask for proof of registration. It seems as if this might be, where some of those gaps are coming in. Is that right, Zeenat?
Yes, that's exactly it. And also, I think what parents are not doing is that if you are homeschooling your children, that they themselves need to register their children with the department, because the department needs to know how many learners are there. If a learner completes matric and wants to start tertiary education, they need to write the matric exam. So you need to have your child registered with the department, even though they are at home. Because parents would obviously, once you reach matric, all children would have to write the national Umalusi exams. So this is important for parents to keep in mind.
So when we think about homeschooling, I think a lot of people's minds probably go to, a kid at home. Either you have a professional tutor there that's walking them through the curriculum for the year, or it might be a parent or a caregiver who, downloads the tools or has access to those tools and does it. Or in another scenario, they could go to an online learning platform. And it's quite it seems, Zeenat, as if, these are quite hit and miss areas. So what is the best strategy? A parent who's looking to not only cut costs, but also give their kids a really good education that is in a controlled environment. What are some of the things they need to be thinking of to make sure that they achieve those goals?
So, Iman, the legislation protects and provides parents with what their responsibilities are. And this is covered in the South African Schools Act, and it's covered in the home education policy, which places a lot of responsibility on parents to ensure that there's registration, as we've covered, and that there is the curriculum is followed as per the public school, the Department of Education's curriculum is completed. And it also needs to ensure that there's extramural activities which they need to take their children to. And this is to expose their children to cultural and and social amenities. They also need to ensure that tutors who come into their home, and this is really important, is that they need to ensure that tutors or educators who are coming into their home are vetted against the National Child Protection Register. We all know that South Africa, that gender-based GBV, gender-based violence, is really pervasive in the country. And when we say vetting with the National Child Protection Register, this means that they need to ensure that, there's a list the DSD keeps, which includes all persons who are unsuitable to work with children. So they need to vet these tutors against that to ensure that it is safe for this tutor to enter their homes.
Very, very important. I mean, because it's tough enough as it is, and it can be costly in certain instances when you're going the route of homeschooling to get the right tutors and so on. That bar seems to be so high, Zeenat, to make sure that you're not endangering your children. And parents really have to be well informed and follow the law on this one. And that, I think, is probably the central message tonight. Quick one before I let you go. You've got, and my colleague's going to talk about it in a little bit more detail just now, but the Basic Education Amendment Bill, is it likely to help and address some of these issues we've been discussing?
Yes, it does. So what Bella does is that it incorporates a lot of what Section 51 has done in the South African Schools Act. It's completely regulating home education, and we totally welcome this regulation. And I think parents need to. I know that a lot of people have been opposed to the regulation of home education, but it is actually in the best interest of the children. This is in compliance with Section 29 and Section 28 of the Constitution, and we need to ensure that the best interests of the children are central when we are choosing options for schooling.